Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video demonstration of the Palo Alto Network's Next Generation Firewall. As you know, our next-gen firewalls are based on App ID, User ID, and Content ID as the foundation of how we classify, secure, and enable the safe usage of today's applications. And today, what I'd like to show you is highlight some of the really cool visibility tools and then the policy enforcement using app, user, and content as a basis. I'm going to start with the ACC, or the Application Command Center. This is one of the particularly innovative visibility tools that we have in the product. And what this allows you to do is see at a very quick, high-level basis what the traffic on your network looks like. And what you see here is the top 25 applications, which by the way can be changed to include top 50, 100, etc. But by default, top 25 applications, the 25 URL filtering categories that were matched, giving you a view of the web browsing behavior, the types of sites that your users are browsing to, threats that were seen, including vulnerability exploits, spyware, viruses, etc., and then data filtering, which maps to file types, as well as data patterns like credit card numbers and regular expressions that you define. And so at a very high level, you very quickly get a view of what's happening on your network. But even better is you can then drill into it. For example, if I click on BitTorrent, what's going to happen is this will now drill into more information. First of all, it'll tell you information about BitTorrent in case you didn't understand how it worked, its ability to transfer files, use by malware, etc. But then it also will show you all the source users of this application on your network, the destinations where the traffic is going to, and as a peer-to-peer app, it's probably no surprise that the source and destinations are both inside and outside the network. Source and destination countries, which is particularly interesting to see with peer-to-peer applications. You start to see exactly how they create this sort of global network of sharing. And as I said, destinations as well. And then one thing that's very powerful is the ability to see which rule or rules allowed this traffic through your network. The reason this is important is in most enterprises, you'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of rules, and being able to find the rule that allowed this traffic sometimes takes a lot of effort. Using the ACC, it's very simple. This will simply tell you this is the rule that allowed BitTorrent, and if there's multiple rules, you would see them. Now, I can keep drilling. I can drill in by country. I can click on one of the users and drill further. There's lots more I can use the ACC for in terms of getting additional data. But I want to move on and show you the policy screen. And so let me actually show you what happens if I click on a rule here. And what you'll see is by clicking on that, it takes me right into the policy screen, and that rule is now highlighted. It's this one here in the darker blue color. So using the ACC, I was able to pick out some interesting data. I was able to then, that data becomes actionable because it allows me to link into the policy table to where I can now change policy and enact new rules. Okay, so that's the ACC and the visibility tools. And again, there's logs and reports and all sorts of other good stuff there. Now policy. What you'll notice in the policy is that you do have some of the traditional capabilities of source destination IP address, source destination zone, service, action. What I want to point out though are the unique things, and I'll start with user. So being able to define policy by user is incredibly powerful. This rule I just highlighted, what it shows is the ability to create a rule by a user group. And this is pulled out of Active Directory in this case, but it can come out of LDAP as well. And this policy, as you see, is defined by a group called administrators. What's useful about this is not only that it's defined by a user or a group of users as opposed to an IP address, which might be changing all the time, but in the context of defining by a group, if you hire a new employee and put them into the administrators group in Active Directory, they will automatically match this policy now. If you move them from this group to a different group because their job function changed, they'll automatically be moved out of this policy. So from an adds, moves, and changes perspective, this is so powerful in the time savings it can create for you, because the rule doesn't have to change just because your employee base changes and their function within your company changes. The second piece I want to point out is the application. So with App ID, we identify traffic using the content. That's how we figure out what the App ID is, whether it's Gtalk, Skype, Oracle, MySQL, doesn't matter, it's by content. And then based on that, I can create groups of applications, dynamic filters of applications, I can call out specific apps, In this case, I created a group of applications called IT Remote Access. And so this group of applications defined by app ID as opposed to by port and protocol, which is what I do if I was to define this by the service column here, I've now defined access or ability to use these applications without having to determine what ports or protocols they might be using. Again, it simplifies the process, but then of course makes it a million times more accurate than using port numbers, which are often used by multiple applications. And so this says IT administrators can use IT remote access applications, they're allowed. And then lastly is the content piece, and that's where I do use these profiles, and I can specify the searching for viruses, vulnerability exploits, spyware, filtering, file blocking, and data filtering. And so in a single policy, I'm able to determine what applications different users can use, and then how I'm going to scan them for threats to make sure that these applications are being safely utilized. So again, ACC as one of several visibility tools that we have for understanding what's actually happening, and then policy enforcement using that same app user and content information to set very innovative but enabling applications on the network for your users.